See you. Woo! 3, 2, 1. Bam.
The culture superiority is, to me, is a problem. You know, when somebody says we are better because of a certain background, or because we come from a certain place, therefore we are better. That to me is, I think, any kind of supremacy, if you want to call it that, is a problem. It's it's
happening in our own region right now.
I think there was this controversial topic with this blogger who talked about I don't know if you've seen it. I forgot her name. Sundus Al-Qattan, I think her name was.
Yeah.
She talked about maids and how you want to take the passports and so on, and that blew up all around the world. And it became such a controversial topic that people started looking at our region as a culturally supremacist region. And these guys look at house help as less than them. And, and it was kind of worrying for me to read that in Western media and so on.
But you always can go back to them if you gotta be strong enough. Go tell anybody. This is subject. It's another subject.
There's so many subjects.
The lady you mentioned her name. Yeah. She had a situation. Obviously, what she said was what she said. But let's keep it on the side. But just to tell you on the same thing.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen a British doorman in Dubai?
I don't think I have. No.
You will never find.
Yeah. Why though? What's...
And if somebody says to you in Europe that they, anything they say to you that we don't have, why do you guys have mates and that, they also have mates. They also have mates.
Of course.
Even in America, around the world. It's just different, So this is what I mean. They would highlight anything against us. It's not a good word. People around the world who receives wrong media about us, they would believe anything so quickly because unfortunately the media have already started the game long time ago to be against specifically Muslims, before Arabs, by the way. And then about Arabs, and then about Asians, and so on. And before that, it was the slaves, and the blacks and all of that. So the reality is, the situation. Remember the lady from online on Twitter when she tweeted, she said, "Oh, finally, I'm going to Africa. Hopefully, I will not get AIDS."
Right. Yeah. I remember that. Yeah.
And the next morning they fired her and this and that. But that's all social media. Unfortunately, the social media it became like a land of terror,
It's the wild west.
Yeah, it's the wild west.
Social media
Everybody wants to hate each other and to understand other people wrongly just for the sake of it and so on. But anyway, I think to wrap this part is that from the journey of helping other people to understand my culture so they can appreciate it. There is a lot of great examples of people today who I can definitely say that they are an amazing expatriates, who showed great respect to us, who are still dressed very modestly, who still understand that wearing bikini and putting a sari on it and walking in the middle of the mall is not respectful.
Right.
Those who would still understand that, when Ramadan happens, we're not asking you not to eat and not to drink and not do that, because guess what? Everywhere there is available food and everything, and the malls are open, the restaurants are open, but there is just satar, there is some kind of a curtain, so please excuse us if that kind of bothers you, but you understand and you say it's totally fine. I love it when people know the fact that we are a minority in our own country, but they show us so much care by supporting not something physically, but supporting us through emotions, that they would not go out to a place where they know that this place could be a public place, and there is a lot of people from around the world, especially from Muslims community, and they would wear something nicely. So that it tells you, Mr. Basel, if right now you and I and everybody listening, okay, when was the last time did they say, I want to cook an Emirati dish? If you're an expat,
well, it's because we have the best food in the world. That's
Agree? Yeah, agree. And there's people who've been here for 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 10 years, and they never ask themselves, what does the call to prayer really translates as?
Right.
And what is this region called Hayy al-Fhaydi and Bastakiya? I want to go and see. What is this nice, this mosque visit that I could go to, Sheikh Zayed Grand Mosque in Abu Dhabi? Let me learn more about it. Do we still have that kind of people? I hope so.
I believe we do. I believe we do. I believe there's a lot of people who always feel like they want to learn more about the culture and more about. I think it's interesting.
But a lot of them are not being helped.
True.
You know why?
Yeah, true.
Because of us. Because now we have a new generation that is a good generation from being in this time,
right?
Because they have everything possible for them. Even our own generation, we had so many things good for us,
right?
But not as much as this generation. But unfortunately, they really missed the train of values and culture.
It's interesting to me when you said, "Are they being helped?" I think that's a very important thing to note. I hear a lot of my friends and family, they have this perception that as Arabs we are victims, and I think that is a thinking that we should probably change, no matter where you're from in the Middle East, or as a Muslim as well. And me being a Muslim as well, that's something I'm very mindful of, because I believe that it's a mixture of things, right? If you allow a certain stereotype about yourself to become the truth about you, that's in your hand to change, And I think one thing that I respect about what you do is that you try to get out there and to meet the world and to try to change perceptions. And I think that's very important, to try to own up to your narrative and control your narrative. I think that's a very important thing for us to do. And that's why, sometimes we say, yes, the Western media has a lot against Islam. But I don't necessarily see it that way, because I think my favorite word in the English language is nuance. And that's because I think everything, you can see it from an umbrella and you can believe it, but then when you dig into it, you start seeing there's so many different things in that umbrella that tells a different story. You could see that there are certain aspects in Western media that actually is very pro immigrants, very pro minorities, very pro human rights, and all that sort of things, that in turn becomes kind of pro Muslim and pro Arabs and that sort of anti-war and so on. And there's of course these other elements as well that's, like you said, are like that.
We should not blame the West media on everything. You have to work.
Of course, that's what I'm saying.
That's what we've been doing, and one hand doesn't clap, but we try, and other people have to continue to try and to go out to represent. And inshallah we can, everybody gets to the point. Today a lot of legacy has been left. People could always read the books, they have the things to follow. My point is that now it's a new generation that has to carry on this.
Right.
My take on this, unfortunately, the new generation is not as strong as the generation before when it comes to holding into their own culture and tradition. And you could see that. I'm not going to take this as a negative thing, but I'm just saying this is the reality.
Right.
You could see what's appearing there is then social media. And the social media is not necessarily going to tell us the real percentage, but also tells you that these numbers, that these people are being followed with all the silly things they do. True. If they were not having accounts, then they're following these people.
Right.
So, so when you're following somebody who's, showcasing wrong things, bad things, stupid things, silly things to our own cultural standards, then that you mean you're supporting them. Simple as that.
Very
this whole famous thing they say, don't make stupid people famous, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
In fact, that is itself is making them famous. You understand what I mean?
Right, yeah.
So we have a lot of that, but it doesn't bother us. Maybe we've, someone like me who probably tasted, all of this whole thing, fame, and people know you, blah, blah, blah. So I'm not really too much into that. And I just say if somebody really have some good content, people will just follow. So do good content and people will follow you. Until I started finding that the people are putting the good content, but the reality is their values is not really that good content.
Really?
Wallah.
Interesting.
Half of them, wallah. I see them, they know themselves.
Interesting.
Very well. They come online and they read couple of videos of Steve Jobs and couple of books of Sharma and all these guys, and they come to the and they translate it and they say this in Arabic, or they would say something about love and about this and that, and they are beating their sisters and their mom and or you will have somebody talks about wallah, lots of things, not to mention that a lot of the other things that are against religion against the tradition, against the culture, again. And then you have somebody says, so what is really the culture of the UAE? Because I see that people are doing this and doing that. So you get really confused. You get lost a little bit. You could be like, what should you do now? Because if you say that is all right, they will tell you that these people, no, it's not all right. We are okay. We are a free country.
Right.
We are a free country. We are able to do whatever we want within the limits of the law. But again, there are things called tradition. Why there is law in the world? Why there is laws? Because you want to implement justice, safety, correct?
Right.
Learn always from the indigenous people. Wallah, you see, when you go back to your roots, you start to realize that, Ya Allah, what am I doing in this time of life, Back in the days, in the Amazonian tribes, this is going to be very harsh, in the Delta, they if a guy beats a woman, of course a girl, his wife, sorry, and if was found cheating on his wife, what do you think the tribe does?
I feel like it's gonna be scary.
Takes him, tie him by a palm tree. Sorry, not a palm tree. I'm mistaken. One of the trees that I've forgotten now. It looks like a palm tree, but it's not a palm tree.
Okay.
And so it looks as the shape, but not the same family. And they tie him very close that his back is so close to it, he hits his legs fall down. Right?
Yeah.
And they take a stick, and they knock the tip of a little. Looks like a hive, but not a beehive. It's a white ant's hive.
Very nice.
And they go tick, tick. And the ants start going tick, 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 tick on him. Every single bite of that, almost like a cigarette that is, like on you. Like you shut your when you turn off a cigarette.
Yeah.
Until completely, either you die, or you basically are learning a lesson for good. On the counterpart, on the contrary part, you go to Africa, the same ants are for the boy to claim that he became a man. His private part, they tie their private part with a leaf from the tree that looks like a banyan tree tie.
Okay.
And what they do, they tie it so well, and they keep a little room. And to prove that he's a man, they need to take the army ants and put it inside.
Fantastic.
For
sounds
20 times he needs to do that to prove that he is thing. What I'm trying to say here is that laws.
Did they get extinct?
No, they still exist.
Okay.
They still exist, and you can watch them even in our own show.
Okay.
My take on this. This inhabitants that looks very weird to you, and this culture and the tradition and all of that. This is what we refer to as al-a'raf, al-adat, wat-taqalid. Traditions. And these traditions and cultural cultural laws, let's call them, cultural codes, right? They shape the laws. They are shaping of a place. And later on, when the territory becomes inviting, it's an inviting land to so many different people, then you put the law. Why? Because then that law is not has to be make sense to everybody, right?
Right.
So now let's come to our own daily life now here in our time.
Right.
You go to a place in the world and you are a foreigner to that land. Would you accept to put 20 times you put ants into your own, private part to prove that you are a man?
Probably not. No,
hopefully not. You don't need to do that at all, right? But that's why that person no longer have this option. He can become civilized, and he goes into the city life, and he no longer have that. Correct? The same thing over here. When people say it back in the days, when they come to me, Ali, did you guys not allow women to drive? Did you guys not allow women to drive? And I'm like, dude, since the UAE was founded, women always managed to drive with a license. Had a license, alhamdulillah.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. To everything, it needs time. 10, 15, 20 years sometimes for a culture to
Start shifting and moving forward,
to evolve into something else. You see, my sister had a license back in the days, but it was no. ما يصير أنت تسوقين وأنا موجود.
Really?
I cannot drive while I'm here. Back in the days, I'm talking 20 years ago.
So hold on, you say
She had a license.
but it was not preferred for her to drive while you're around. Is that because you wanted to drive her?
No. It was because women had driving license, but not necessarily that every single one had to go and drive.
Right.
So they had the license because the law says she can.
Right.
She can by law. She can have a license. But by traditions and a'raf and cultural codes, it was, come on, shame, yani you're a man and you're letting the woman to drive. This existed in our own region.
While you're home.
And you're available. How could you let the woman to drive? You know, you go to the shopping mall and you see us. I cannot walk with my family and let them carry the bags. Aib. This is shame on me. I have to carry the bags from them. It's my
but that's chivalry, right? That's Arab chivalry, which is
absolutely.
You know, we have to do it if we can, then we must.
And so today, you have the woman. She can easily, and the man can easily do whatever they want in their own society. A man can go out and make his hair spiky.
Right.
There is a law that says you cannot have your hair spiky?
There should be.
No. No, there is no law that says you cannot make your hair spiky.
Yeah.
But in traditions, in a'raf, in cultural codes, it's not respected.
Right.
It's not appreciated. Now, this is where the challenge. Ali being the guy who is trying to bring the world together and love each other and all of this, and trying to understand each other, but at the same time, Ali is also sticking to his own tradition and culture. But guess what? Don't blame me, because I'm saying to you, let the people, the indigenous around the world, to live their life and no longer have the right to tell them you are wrong, that you are bad. No, let them. You think that they are sick? No, they're not sick. They have the jungle to cure them. They have the hunting that they can live normally. That is my philosophy today.
Right.
That I cannot say to somebody that you're wrong. I will not.
Right.
But I do have my own opinion to say that people in our own region started to step away from the tradition and culture, not because the law says it's okay. No, it's because unfortunately they are not appreciating their own culture very well, and they don't understand their tradition purely enough to say, my dad and my mom did not do that, and that was for a reason.
Well, I have a question for you. So it seems very important for you. Culture, tradition seems like a topic that's, it's very passionate. You're very passionate about. At what point do you think culture and tradition needs to evolve and move forward? And because sometimes I feel culture, as important as it is, it's good because it's celebrated. It's nice to celebrate your culture. It's nice to. There are certain things where we are, as humans, we are a bit tribal. You know, we tend to fall back with our own people. We feel more comfortable when we hear somebody speak our language. We feel comfortable when somebody speaks our accent, when somebody dresses like us. It's just a thing that we do as humans, right? So that aspect I understand. But at what point do you think it's important for us to evolve our culture to become more, so I'll give you an example. Today, we, as Arabs, I don't think many Arabs are very into reading, for example, right? I mean, there's a statistic, I could pull one out, but I don't have one from the top of my head, that we're not the most, we don't have many Nobel Prizes. We don't have many, we don't really read. We don't have these scientific accomplishments today. I mean, we could go back to the golden ages of Islam and so on, but we're not talking about that.
Yeah.
And maybe some of that, is it to do with our culture? Has it been limiting us in some way? Has our traditions limited us in some way? I don't know. I don't have a real opinion on this. I'm trying to work my way to understand why, as a society, we haven't gotten there. But then I ask myself, do we need to evolve our culture? Do we need to evolve our traditions in order to become more open to new ideas, in order to become recipients of Nobel Prizes and do breakthroughs in science and so on and so forth?
I already implanted in your conversation the word evolving. You wouldn't be using it. Most people use change. should
Okay.
change. You know, the culture has to change. Alhamdulillah. So that's good. You already used evolve. That's the correct word.
Right.
It's something will have to evolve.
Right.
Evolve is not change. What they're trying to do is to change.
As in, like, forget the past.
Yes.
This is the future.
Or they would say it was never like that. It was never that the woman had to cover. It was never that the woman had to put this. It's not even in the Quran. It's not even this. They're trying to delete everything. This is not. So start, you know. Fine. That's a big topic. That's something else.
Right.
But
That's another podcast.
yes, that's another podcast.
That's 3 hour podcast.
But you know, from what you said, all I can tell you is that from what we remember, what do you remember from history? Let's go back in history, 100 years. What was around?
I mean, depends. There's a lot.
It was a war about all lands. 200 years ago, still we had wars about the land.
And then 300 years ago, war. And war.
400, and then we had the Ottomans at that time, some
Right.
parts of the region. My point I'm trying to tell you, all of that 1001 discoveries of scientists, Muslims and Arabs who discovered this and this and that, that was because we were at peace. Nobody was actually dividing our land. Nobody knew that we had oil, so they come here and they stay with us. I'm sorry to say this, but they got us too busy to fight with each other, to think about science and about reading. Right now, you have a problem with the neighbors around, around here and there. As a country, if you're from Jordan,
Right.
you have, Syria has problems with its own. Yemen has a problem. We are in the Gulf region. The people in Egypt has not stopped, having problems. Sudan has they divided it, and they still. How you want the Arabs to actually divide to discover? And we have hope. Dubai and the UAE, it's a hope. It's like a hope. Still, alhamdulillah, Rabbil Alameen, may God bless us all, and inshallah, all of the region becomes like, it's a model. If all of the Arab region, they just understand the Dubai model and what is it really all about. Yes, we have towers. Yes, we have towers. Come on, this is a new thing now. We have the highest tower in the world, right? But people forget we have also deep roots. We have heritage. We have culture. We have leaders who have great care and respect to the tradition in the past. Otherwise, how does this tower goes all the way like this? You have to have a very good cornerstone. You have to have a very deep roots in the ground. So we are not ashamed to say that we have 12 churches in Abu Dhabi, and we have the first churches in Sharjah. We're not afraid to say that there is a temple in Dubai. We're not afraid to say that we discovered a monastery in Sir Banyas and all of this. We are not afraid as a Muslim nation to say we all live together, 200 nationalities, we are great. This whole thing about Muslims, I am right, I am wrong, we don't have this, alhamdulillah. We are all fine. Practice what you want. You have the mosque, you have the nice club, you have the nice hotel, you have the beach, you have this, right? All of this is good.
Right.
This has always been like this, aslan. We never have. The problem is right now, we're only one. Arabs, remember what I told you in the beginning? It was not one country. It was Arab world. We were the Arab world. We were emirs, lands. These guys are doing the tahin. They are digging the flour. The others are making the dates. The people in the oasis are bringing us the dates. The people in the coast are giving them the fish. كنا عايشين. وبعدين the people the Mecca and Medina was people studying the Quran and traveling. Suddenly they had the people from Stanland, which is the Central Asia, Uzbekistan, Bukhara, Samarkand. You had Kazakhstan. This is where algorithm, right? It's al-Khwarizmi.
Right, yeah.
I mean, people don't even know that al-Jabra, Jabr Hayyan, all of this scientific. Why? Even though there was a time that these scientists actually lived in a wartime as well, but there was so much care that the individuals with education, and I'm sorry to say this, was not in English. So how on earth would you actually manage to create anything if it's not originally from your own mother language?